Hey, welcome back. As we know, pregnancy is a huge athletic event. And just like any other physical event, preparation is key. So today I'm going to be talking about one major key to a smoother and easier labor, which is hip mobility, or the ability to move your pelvis in different directions. So movement is key in labor in general, but hip mobility itself can play a big role in helping your baby navigate your pelvis to be born during labor. So today I'm going to be talking about the different levels of your pelvis and show you simple and easy moves that you can do to improve your hip mobility starting today. Before we get into how to help your baby navigate your pelvis, let's do a quick anatomy lesson. So our pelvis is made up of 3 levels. We have our pelvic inlet here, which is the top. That's where your baby's head is first going to engage or enter into your pelvis. And then we have our mid pelvis, like the middle, and that's actually where like our pelvic floor is located. And that is where baby is going to do one of their rotations through your pelvis. And then the very bottom is the pelvic outlet, and that's where their head is going to emerge, crown, and that's where baby is born from. So the way your baby navigates these different levels is through what are called cardinal movements. So if you have a vaginal delivery, your baby actually instinctively does specific movements to help navigate the different levels of your pelvis. So first, our baby has to engage into the top of our pelvis called our inlet. And then once they're in there, they're going to tuck their head to get past your pubic bone to create a little bit more space. They're going to do a little bit of a twist. That way their shoulders can fit through the top. Then they're going to extend their head out and they're actually going to rotate again so that their shoulders can now line up with the widest part of your outlet. And that's where from the bottom, baby is born. So these cardinal movements are called engagement and descent, or entering and lowering, flexion, which is tucking the chin, internal rotation, where they twist their head and then their shoulders follow. And then we have extension, where the head tips back and that comes out underneath through your outlet. And then we have restitution, or external rotation, where the baby twists their shoulders again to now line up with the bottom. And then we have expulsion, or your baby's birth. So these are just, again, they're instinctual movements that your baby knows how to do to navigate the different levels of our pelvis. Because up top, our inlet, it's widest side to side. So they need to enter so that the widest part of their bodies, their shoulders, are lined up with the widest part of our pelvis. And then our mid pelvis is widest diagonally. So that's why they do that rotation. So once their head gets past there, they have to rotate to line up their shoulders with your mid pelvis. And then once their heads are born, they have to rotate once more so that their shoulders line up with the widest part of your pelvic outlet. So it's a really amazing and natural things that our baby can do, but they can only do so much on their own. So by working the flexibility and the mobility of your pelvis, you can actually help create more space in each of these levels through your inlet, your mid pelvis, and your outlet to help them navigate your pelvis a little bit easier during labor and birth. Okay, let's break down each level of your pelvis a little bit more, and let's do some exercises that are going to help improve the mobility of those areas so your baby can do their twists and turns to be born. First is our pelvic inlet, which is the very top where your baby's head and shoulders first engage into your pelvis during labor. Your pelvic inlet is naturally widest from side to side and narrowest from front to back. So to help create space for your baby to enter and engage and descend into your pelvis, we want to increase not only the side to side distance, but also the front to back. So we can do that with exercises, stretches, and movements that promote widening the inlet by doing knees wide and widening the front to back diameter by getting this sacrum, or this big triangular bone, out of the way. So let's take a look at a couple of exercises that help that. During your workouts, if you are somebody who likes to squat, you can keep doing squats, but something that you can do at the very bottom is tuck your hips under to help increase that front to back space by getting your sacrum out of the way. So I would recommend you do this by holding on to a TRX or a tower here, but what you'll do is you'll drop down into your squat. At the bottom, you're going to tuck your butt around a little bit. That's going to get that sacrum out of the way. Hold that a couple seconds. Now at the bottom, I've got nice wide knees. So not only am I opening the top side to side, But with that butt tuck, I'm now getting the sacrum out of the way, opening front to back. Before you rise, you want to come back into that neutral and then come back up. So again, to incorporate it into your workouts, hold on, come down as low as you can, hold that support, tuck the butt under, hold for a couple breaths, come back to neutral, and then exhale to rise. All right, what you can do stretch-wise is hold a deep squat. So if you are a yogi, you can do this nice deep malasana squat. Okay, if this is painful for you to hold on your own for a couple minutes, 30 seconds, start where you can. You can sit on a yoga block. You can sit on a step stool. You're just gonna sit so that your knees are nice and wide. And then you can kind of tuck your butt under here a little bit as well. So again, those knees wide are going to help open that side to side diameter of your inlet. And if you tuck the butt under, now you're opening the front to back diameter as well. So again, the key to opening your inlet is going to be knees wide, sacrum out of the way. If you have a yoga ball or a large exercise ball, what you can also do is kneel behind that ball with nice wide knees, toes together. You can lay on it, and then you're going to rock and tuck your butt under at the bottom. Neutral at the top, tuck it under at the bottom. So you can play around with how wide your knees go, whatever feels most comfortable for you. All right, but those are 3 moves that are going to help increase the front to back and side to side diameter of your inlet, which again is the top of your pelvis, and we want to help open the inlet so baby can engage and then descend for labor. Your mid-pelvis is most narrow on diagonal. So we got a diagonal facing each direction. Now remember, with those cardinal movements, your baby does 2 rotations. They rotate one way and then they rotate the other. So we want to make sure that we can open each diagonal. So to increase the space in your mid-pelvis by increasing that diameter from diagonal to diagonal, we want to do exercises, stretches, movements that help move your legs in opposite directions of one another or asymmetrical movements. So let's take a look at a few of those. A great exercise that is going to move your legs apart from one another is doing a side lunge. So you can either do stepping side lunges, alternating, or you can make your feet wide and leave them planted for a little bit more stability, and then you're just shifting from side to side. Now, because your legs are moving asymmetrically or opposite from one another, your hips are kind of hiking separately and opposite here, which is going to help create that mid-pelvis diagonal diameter. To get a little bit more out of those side lunges, we're going to add a little rotation. So as you come towards your bent knee, you're going to think about taking the opposite side of your belly and rotating it towards that inner thigh. And then switching. So I'm going to take the right side of my belly and rotate it towards my left inner thigh. That rotation is going to help create a little bit more diameter in the mid-pelvis. But if that's uncomfortable, just shifting side to side is great. Something else you can do is taking a step stool. This is really great to do actually during labor itself as well. So if you have a step stool, a pile of books, a yoga block, something that is sturdy and wide enough for your foot to comfortably go on, you can place one foot up on that stool. We're going to take like a little Captain Morgan stance here, and we're going to shift our knee up towards our pinky to middle toe here. Now this in and of itself is going to help open that mid-pelvis, but we can get a little bit more by, as we shift forward, actively pressing that knee out, and then as we shift back, we're going to pull this knee backwards, and I'm going to do that same rotation, bringing the right side of my belly towards my left inner thigh. So as I shift forward, I'm opening. As I shift back, I'm closing. This is just going to add a little bit more of that rotational component to help increase the diameter of that mid-pelvis. Now you'll want to do it on both sides as well. So Captain Morgan stance. As I shift, I'm going to open that knee wide. As I close, I'm going to take the left side of my belly and rotate it towards my right inner thigh. So just open and close. Open and close. All right, so again, anything that moves your legs opposite of one another is going to help create that space in your mid-pelvis for your baby to do not just one, but two of their rotations. Now, our pelvic outlet is the opposite of our inlet. So our pelvic outlet is widest from front to back and narrowest from side to side. So these big bones here, these are our sits bones. So if you were to feel in the meaty part of your glutes, you would find those sitting bones. Those are the most narrow area for our baby's head and shoulders to pass through. So to help increase the space of our pelvic outlet, we want to do two things. We want to increase the front to back diameter by getting this tailbone out of the way. And we want to increase the side to side diameter by getting our sitting bones wider. So we can do this with any type of hinge type movement. If you are pushing, we want to unweight our tailbone, and we want to go knees in, ankles wide. That's going to help open our pelvic outlet. So let's take a look at a few examples of that. During your workouts, doing exercises like a deadlift is really great type of hinge movement, which is going to help get the tailbone out of the way and practice our glutes and our pelvic floor lengthening. So any type of deadlift is excellent. Now, just like with the squats and the side lunges, we can make a little bit of a modification to get a little bit more out of your deadlift to further increase the space of your pelvic outlet. So we can do two things here. Instead of your feet being parallel, what we can do is turn our toes in. This is going to create what's called internal rotation at our hips. That's going to move those sits bones, those big bones that are making your pelvic outlet narrow. It's going to move them wider. So if we tuck our toes in and we deadlift here, you'll feel a little bit different pull in the hips, but that's going to help increase the side to side diameter of your outlet, while doing the hinge is going to increase the front to back. So you got a double whammy there. Another thing you can do is stagger your stance so that one foot is slightly behind the other. And what you're going to do is take the side of your belly and you're going to rotate it towards your opposite inner thigh as you hinge. So I'm going to reach towards the outside of my opposite foot and then back up. So from the side, I'm going to take the right side of my belly and twist it over towards my left inner thigh. So now I am hinging. I'm also increasing space in my mid-pelvis because my feet are staggered, but I'm creating more rotation and getting my sitting bones out of the way. So doing any type of staggered stance deadlift is really excellent. Another thing you can do is take a big ball, and if you don't have a ball, you can just go hands flat on the floor. It's going to be similar to those rock backs that we did for our pelvic inlet, but different position. So now we're going to go knees in, ankles out. That creates more space in our outlet. So if I'm here and I rotate my feet out, my sitting bones move wide. If I go knees in, feet in, or knees wide, feet in, my sitting bones come in. If I do the opposite, they come out. So by widening the feet, you're increasing the side to side diameter. So I'm going to go knees in, ankles out, and I'm going to do a few rock backs here. And I'm going to keep my spine neutral, avoiding tucking under because that's going to get the tailbone in the way. So again, if you don't have a ball, you can do the same type of exercise with your hands flat on the floor. So just rocking back and forth here with your knees in, ankles out, helps again move your sits bones out of the way. Now, a key with your pelvic outlet, because this is where your baby emerges, so this is where you're going to be pushing. If you can, try not to lay flat on your back because that's going to prevent your tailbone from getting out of the way, which is going to prevent increasing the front to back diameter. So if you can, try not to lay flat on your back. If you want to be laying down, simply just put a towel under one side of your hips. That's going to give your tailbone the space to move. Second thing, laying flat on your back with your knees shoved up and wide towards your shoulders, that's actually going to close the outlet because that's going knees wide. We want to actually do the opposite. So we want to think knees in, ankles out. That's going to help open that pelvic outlet. So those are just two little bonus things for pushing. If you can, unweight your tailbone and get your knees in, ankles out. Okay, quick little recap. Your pelvic inlet is widest side to side and narrowest front to back. So during your workouts, a modification for your squats is to hold on at the very bottom of that squat. Tuck your butt under with your knees nice and wide. Hold for a couple of breaths, go back to neutral, and then stand up. Your mid pelvis is narrowest on those diagonals. So we want to do exercises that move our legs opposite from one another. So you can do those lunges, and then you can add that rotational component as well. For your pelvic outlet, which is narrowest from side to side and widest from front to back, we want to do hinge type movements to help get the tailbone out of the way to increase this space even further. And we want to go knees in, ankles out to get this wider. So a modification for your deadlifts would be to go what's called a pigeon position. So toes come together, heels wide. That's going to create that internal rotation that's going to get these sitting bones wider. And then as you hinge, you're going to naturally get this tailbone out of the way. So just a couple easy modifications for your workouts that are going to help increase the mobility of your pelvis. And if you're ready to take your labor prep like this to the next level, definitely check out my ebook, which is called Opening Your Pelvis for Birth. It's packed with exercises, tips, strategies, a little bit more information about your pelvis to help increase your pelvic mobility, your hip mobility, which is going to help make your labor easier, not just on you, but on your baby. All right, so I'm going to link that in the information below. Thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, the more you prepare now, the more confident you're going to feel and prepared you're going to feel going into birth itself. If you found today helpful, please like, subscribe, and definitely check out the written blog post that goes along with today's blog. Can't wait to see you next time. Have a great day.